Welcome back to the KDPG Sunday edition. We're talking about HQ2, Pittsburgh's competitiveness against other cities in the competition, the local economy, and more. We're joined by Dr. Gus Fauché, Senior VP, Chief Economist for PNC Financial Services, and Doug Hoyk, Editor of Pittsburgh Quarterly and Program Director of Pittsburgh Today. Gus, when you look at the Pittsburgh region's economic performance over, say, the past 2 years, how are we doing relative to some of our peer cities?
We've been doing better over the past couple of years. So Pittsburgh was it had a mild recession when much of the rest of the country was suffering, had a pretty fast recovery, but then there was kind of a lull from 2013 to 2016 because of low energy prices. So we had reduced activity in the energy sector, which has become much more important for the Pittsburgh metropolitan area over the past decade or so. But since we've seen energy prices stabilize and move a bit higher, we've seen a pickup in energy activity, and that supported overall growth in the Pittsburgh economy. So conditions are better than they were a couple of years ago, still lagging behind overall U.S. economic growth, but the unemployment rate is about 4%, right at the national average, tight labor market, and things are looking pretty solid for Pittsburgh right now.
What are the best, what are the sectors that are leading this? You mentioned natural gas.
Energy is one, education and healthcare, which is obviously a leading industry for Pittsburgh. Tech continues to do well, so our tech share of employment is just right at the national average, but that's an expanding industry. So it's really pretty broad-based. We're also seeing some improvement in manufacturing over the past couple of years. We've seen a weaker U.S. dollar. That's helped. We've seen a pick up in industrial activity. So it's pretty broad-based economic growth throughout the Pittsburgh metropolitan area.
So our largest employer in the region currently is UPMC, which has about 46,000 employees. We're talking about 50,000 eventually with Amazon. And people have talked about the outsized influence that they have in Seattle. There was a movement in Seattle to slap, I think, a $500 per employee tax to fund programs for the homeless, low-income people. Amazon fought it, got it reduced to, I think, $275, and then it just went away. People question the power of UPMC and Highmark and our nonprofits, all the time, and say, oh, maybe they're too powerful. Good or bad to be actively luring such a sort of Bigfoot economic player into the region? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Obviously, the jobs would be great to have, but when you have that much sway in the economy, you have a lot of power. So I think that's something that our decision makers are going to have to take into account. But certainly, I think we've seen what Seattle does, Amazon does wield enormous power in Seattle, and if they come here, I think they're likely to wield that power here as well, and certainly that's something to be cognizant of and to watch out for.
Thoughts on that, Doug, before we move on?
Well, I think, I mean, if you looked at the odds, you'd presume that it's a problem we're unlikely to have to face. I mean, because, we're only one city out of, who knows how many. But in a city that's been losing population for a long time, roughly speaking, and that was built for a much bigger population in terms of our infrastructure, we're a place that could handle that influx.
Both of you look at this type of thing and this exercise. You've both covered it and you watch it closely. If you don't get Amazon, it's almost like interviewing for a job. You don't get it and you've gone for the top, but you've practiced it. Now you've done it. Pittsburgh was in the race, final 20. What else is out there, and what do you learn from something like this? What does the region learn from doing something like this? And does it apply to other businesses they could go after, maybe a bit smaller than Amazon, but still important to the local economy?
I think it forces you to recognize your strengths and weaknesses, and so I think that will be an advantage going after other businesses. Also, I think it helps put Pittsburgh on the map. I think other companies are going to look at this and say, hey, Amazon considered Pittsburgh, we're a smaller company, maybe it would be better for us because we won't have as much of an impact, but this is a good location. They talked about the universities. Let's take a look and see what's out there. So I think this could be an advantage for Pittsburgh over the next 5-10 years, just being on that short list.
We've been looking, we're an unusual place. We lost a lot of jobs back in the mid-'80s, and 150,000 to 200,000 people left. We've been looking at ourselves and our strengths and weaknesses for the last 30 years. Unlike most places, this Pittsburgh Today group that I work with in our old PG benchmarks, we've been studying Pittsburgh. How do we make it go forward? How do we make it move, succeed again? And so this is good. We've been studying it, but one thing we've also come to grips with, I think, over that time is that we've really reached a place where Pittsburgh is a good place. Gus mentioned that the economy is diversified. Our numbers are all attractive. Wages are going up. You know, this quality of life. So if we, you know, I'm sure everyone, PNC, the Allegheny Conference, and the political leaders are going to be going after new prospects in this vein, maybe not as big. They always will. And they'll get some and maybe they won't. But in the meantime, one thing we probably learned also is in thinking about what would 50,000 jobs do, we probably also kind of thought, you know, Pittsburgh is pretty nice the way it is. And so there's some realization that we may not need to, you know, win a huge job growth, you know, beauty contest to be a great place to be.
Do we have any problems with the with this contest that Amazon has foisted upon all of these cities who are willingly participating? But we're talking about the richest man on earth, Jeff Bezos, asking essentially, what can you do for me? Yeah. What can you pay me to bring my company to your town? A woman at the Metropolitan Policy Program with the Brookings Institution said the entire industry of economic development is being defined by these absurd level of subsidies. Again, referring to the $7 billion that Newark has supposedly ponied up and $8.5 billion from Montgomery County. Is this the way it's normally done and we're just hearing about it because it's such a big company? Or have we really crossed into a sort of an unprecedented zone here with all of these companies competing and ponying up what appear to be staggering amounts of money?
You know, I think it's just the level is different this time around, that these types of economic incentives are offered all over the place.
Is that it? The process is normal, it's just we're talking about bigger numbers?
That's correct. I mean, you look at the Foxconn plant that they're talking about building in Wisconsin, and the state and the local areas are providing billions of dollars of subsidies there. So this is occurring throughout the country. Some localities play it more than others. You know, it's a tough call, and obviously the local economies decide that it's worth it to offer these incentives to bring these big employers in. But, you know, a lot of times the things don't pan out. You offer incentives, the company doesn't expand as much as they said they would. And so there are real questions about the efficacy of these and about particularly about the impact on income inequality. You're offering, as you mentioned, incentives to a billionaire. Is that really fair? And so we should think about, hey, is this the system that we want over the longer run?
Either of you have any issues with the secrecy? That the lack of transparency? You know, the local power elite are guarding these details, and even though it's been challenged in court, they're saying this would be a competitive disadvantage to have to release the details of our bid.
From my perspective, if you want to succeed, you know, some degree of keeping your cards close to your vest makes perfect sense to me. And you know, who wants to have everything you know, batted around in the media and have a controversy about it? If you want to succeed, sure. You don't want all that stuff. I don't have any problem with it.
We'd like to see more.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go on record for that.
When we look, so we've talked a little bit about Pittsburgh's, the charms, the great things that we all love about it. If you had to look at this in a very calculated, cold way and say, what are our biggest weaknesses? Transit might come to mind, because we have a limited mass transit. You know, we have a light rail that only goes in one direction. In your opinion, I don't want to prime the pump. In your opinion, what are the biggest weaknesses we face in attracting a company like Amazon, but any big companies going forward?
I think the biggest is a declining population. So throughout the Pittsburgh metropolitan area, we've seen the population decline for about 5 or 6 years straight. Businesses are looking for skilled young people, and although we have universities that are producing them, a lot of skilled young people go elsewhere. And so I think that is going to be the biggest detriment, is labor force issues that over the longer run, that businesses just aren't going to see that they're going to have questions about whether they can find the workers that they need here.
I think in terms of the labor force, if anywhere you go in this country right now, if you want to get a contractor, if you want to go by any restaurant in any city, help wanted, everyone is looking for work. Contractors, they're all, well, we can get to you maybe in 2 years. Every place where Amazon might go is going to need to attract workers from elsewhere. The labor market is mobile and fluid, so I think people would move here. I mean, there's not the excess of people here waiting for jobs, nor is there that excess anywhere. So I don't see that as much of a problem. In terms of the losing population, we are getting young people moving in. The trouble is we have this overhang of older people, more older than younger, and they're simply dying. There are more deaths than births here. That's going to work its way out. What I see is the problems. I don't know that Amazon is interested, but regional air quality, that's something that you know, people should be aware of. And, you know, some of the racial discrepancies, we don't like to see that. We're not, you know, a lot that happens in a lot of places. Some people are concerned about the water, the transportation. We wish we had more flights. Those are some of them that I would see.
So if I put you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no chance at all, 10 being a lock solid, it's going to come. I'll put you on the spot. Gus?
I would say 3 or 4. I think that Amazon is going to end up choosing a larger metropolitan area, and that I think that Pittsburgh being towards the smaller end of the scale is going to be a detriment.
Doug?
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me this. It's a 10. I happen to have inside information, and it's definitely happening, and the announcement will come out next week. So
There you
I
go.
have no idea.
I was going to say, get to Vegas.
Yeah, right.
All right, so just to revisit a question I asked earlier, would you have said, you said a 3? Would you have said that back in January, or has your view, I'm interested in the evolution of the local thought process. Are you thinking it's less likely today than you may have thought a few months ago?
No, I think the odds have always been somewhat weighted against Pittsburgh because of the underlying factors. So I don't think my views changed since Pittsburgh made the short list.
Okay, I think my own sense is that there was this burst of excitement when we realized we were one of the top 20, and then as the time has gone on, it's sort of fizzled. I hear less and less discussion about it. So I'm just curious if your own feelings have evolved, but you're steady and your numbers based.
Probably, you know, it's probably a lot of personal connections. Who's from here in Amazon? Who has Pittsburgh connections versus Washington D.C.
How can
or
you
who
judge
knows
those,
where?
right?
We don't know.
We are out of time. Thanks, gentlemen. Take a break. Back with a program note in just a moment.